Before we dive into making any strokes, I want to talk about the markers we're going to use. All the lettering on your worksheets and in my videos was done with the Stampin' Write markers. I know there are tons of brands out there, and I suspect many of you, just like me, have some or lots of those already. Let me tell you why I think the Stampin' Write markers are great for beginner brush letterers and those who also papercraft. There's two tips on these markers. There's a bullet tip, which is a narrow tip that you can actually write with, fairly narrow line. And then there's the brush tip that we are going to use that makes a much thicker line. You can tell which end is which actually because there's a thick line where the brush tip is and there's a thin line where the bullet tip is. We're really going to focus on the brush tip in this class, but the bullet tip end is great for your own handwriting and printing, and it'll come in handy. If we look at the brush tip, it's firm enough so you can achieve thicks and thins without worrying. So I've got a thick or I've got a thin. So you don't have to worry too much about needing to control the pen. And by what I mean by that is, this brush tip is not too long and not too flexible. When I push down on it, there's some resistance, and that's what you want. Here's a Pentel pen for contrast, and if you've done any Googling, you've probably seen that the recommended marker for brush lettering is the Pentel color brush. And it's a great marker. However, what it is a very, see how long this is? This is a very flexible tip. So what you don't have is as much control. So when I make a line, I've got this waviness here. It's a real difficult for me, and I've been doing this for a while, actually to get a nice straight line like I can with this one. So this is what I used for my first class, and I don't think I was very successful. That was more than 15 years ago, and I didn't brush letter for a while because I didn't like this pen. So that's why I think if you're going to start, you might as well start and be successful as soon as you can, and these Stampin' Write markers are really good for that. They're also pretty inexpensive compared to some of the other brands out there. If you're testing whether you think brush marker lettering is for you, I don't want you to break the bank to start. So this tip as well can take some really gentle abuse. So by that I mean we can push down on the side and we can get a pretty thick line, and that's what I mean by abuse. You're going to be fairly gentle to this brush, and that's what you want. And I'm also going to give you a hint a little bit later about how to care for the tip a little bit to make them last a little bit longer. So some other characteristics, these dry really quickly, so you can go on creating the rest of your card or your page without worrying about smearing. Also, if you're a lefty and you normally end up smearing over your wet ink when you're writing, you won't have that problem with these markers. And seeing that they're water-based, we can easily blend the colors together. And one of the biggest bonuses for me is that the markers coordinate with the Stampin' Up! Papers, inks, ribbons, and embellishments so that you can create words and sayings that match your paper crafting perfectly. Okay, so now you know a little bit about the markers and why I think they're good to start with. You're ready for the next video about how to hold the marker.